Hey guys, Jake with White Rock Decoys here, and today we're going to give you the tips and tricks and the strategy behind setting a 1,000 decoy spring snow goose spread. Let's get after it. Alright guys, so what we got here, we drove around all morning and we're looking for the right spot because there's a ton of geese in the area. It doesn't really matter, they've been jumping cornfield to cornfield, so you don't really need a hot field, it doesn't seem like, when you're in the middle of the migration like this. What we were looking for was the perfect spot, and I think we found it. What we wanted was some water, a pasture because the corn is really, really muddy, next to a cornfield. So you kind of got all three situations you're hunting: water, pasture, corn. They'll kind of look at that situation all day long. When there's a lot of geese around this time of year, that's what we want, so that's what we got. To start setting up a spread in a situation like this, what we always do is pick the spot where the hunters are going to sit first, and then you can start building your spread around that spot. We found some little depressions over here. It's going to cause some shadows. Guys will be a little lower. We're probably going to wear whites today just because the sun's out. You hide a lot better when the sun's out and the wind is blowing in whites. So we're going to unload the trailer, get the decoys out, set 2 or 3 bags of decoys right where the hunters are going to sit, and start there. Once you get your main core of decoys that are going to hide your hunters, then you start spreading out downwind with the rest of your bags of decoys. Alright boys, step number 2 to setting your spread is we pick the spot where we want, and then we always put the blinds, or in this case we're going to lay out in whites. We use pillows so our butt doesn't hurt, doesn't get wet, and we lay out where we're going to sit in the spread so we know where to focus the decoys on. So we're putting out 4 spots. We got 4 guys today, and then from there we'll spread the decoys around here really tight, like almost touching, and you'll see after we're done here, but the decoys in this spot are going to be almost touching each other. That's step number 2 to picking and how you set your snow goose spread in this kind of situation. Alright guys, once you got your wad of decoys set up around the hunters and the blinds, then you start to set the rest of your spread. So where you want to sit in a spring snow goose spread is typically in the top third of the decoy spread, and that depends on the wind direction. So wind at your back, a third of the spread behind you, 2/3 down front. You're going to have the tightest group obviously around you to help you hide, but that's also because snow geese, they like to get in front of the flock when they land. So the geese are coming down and they're going to try to land at the top of the spread. That's where you want to sit. Now, the one big trick that we've learned over the years when setting a spread is you don't want all your decoys to be looking uniform distance apart. And this is a spot that a lot of guys fail to recognize what they're doing. So if you take a decoy, grab it, take 2 steps, and put one in the ground, then take another one, take 2 steps, put one in the ground, your whole spread is going to look uniform, and it doesn't look natural at all. So the trick we do, and what we tell our guys when we're setting out with new guys, is instead of doing that, follow me here, I'll show you. We like to leave some openings. So instead of taking 2 steps, take 5 steps like this, and set 3 decoys in the ground, really close to each other. And then you take 5 more steps, and you set 3 or 4 or 5 more decoys. Then you get this this more natural look to your spread because there's broken up open areas and tight areas. So you want some decoys in the bottom of your spread to be just as close and as tight as they are at the top of your spread when they're hiding you. So you don't want all the decoys at the top of your spread to be really close, and then you're running out of decoys, so you loosen everything up at the bottom. Well, the geese are going to see the difference there. So we really like to take 3 or 5 steps, set 3 or 5 decoys. Take 3 to 5 steps, set 3 to 5 decoys, almost touching. And you'll see what Ted's doing down there too. Just a more broken up look, not uniform. You don't want your decoy spread to look like toy soldiers all 3 feet apart. And that's the biggest trick to setting a realistic snow goose spread. Also, setting them up in cow pies, that's a really good trick that we've learned. Typically the cow pies keep the ground warmer underneath the ground there because obviously it's poop. That's not a real trick. Alright guys, see how close these decoys are up here by where we're going to sit? Like literally almost touching. You can barely get your foot in there. Really, really close together. Really close together, but then you get out here and it starts loosening up a little bit. Still close together, still maybe, pods of them that are 12, 2 feet apart, but then it really starts opening up. Really getting you spread out. One of the biggest advantages of white rock decoys is when you're setting them out, one hand deployment. Take them out, they snap in place. You don't need two hands to fold anything. You don't have any awkward sets when you got one hand deployment with your white rock decoys. Only decoy on the market, one hand deployment. All right, guys, so what you're looking at here, we've got about 1,000, maybe 1,200 decoys out today. That's pretty average. We typically run 1,500 or 1,800 on a normal day, but a lot of guys, this is a typical size spring snow goose spread. We're just finishing up. This is what a spread of 1,000 decoys looks like. And now one of the biggest questions we get is the shape of the decoy spread. Like, where are you putting the decoys and how you get the geese to act like, you know, they're coming in. What we tell guys is flocks of snow geese don't sit in a shape. If you drive around, and one of the biggest giveaways of a spread versus a live flock is these guys are setting their decoy spreads in U's or circles or leaving a big hole for the geese to focus in on. We don't do any of that. Now you ask 10 different snow goose hunters, you get 10 different answers on this question. But personally, for our group, the way we've run since the beginning of the spring season, make your spread look like a flock of snow geese. You got a tight group up top, you got some tight groups down below, and you got openings, and you just loosen it up, look natural. So that's what you're going for when you're setting your spring snow goose spread, is to look natural. Not a shape, not a kill hole. Get the geese, they'll focus to the top of your spread, and you'll kill them. Look natural. Look natural. You want your spread to look natural. So that's the end of the tips on setting the spread, but as you know, you're not done yet. We got a couple more steps before we can really start hunting. So let me get the last couple decoys in the ground and we'll go over speakers and flyers. Just a little bit about speakers and e-collar systems. We don't go anything crazy on our e-collar systems. A couple homemade jobs that we've done over the years. It's not hard to make. We bring out 2 e-collars on every hunt just in case one goes down, a 4-speaker one and a 2-speaker one. As far as placement on your e-collars, the only thing we really do is try to get the speakers in front of the hunters. If you got the speakers behind you, you're gonna go deaf listening to snow goose. It's a really good sound. I love the tunes, but just put the speakers off to the side and in front of you a little bit. We don't run them all the way to the bottom of the spread. We don't put them way ahead of us. Kind of keep the sound around the hunters and attract the birds to the sound. They're already attracted to the big group of decoys on top, and then the sound just kind of brings them that little bit further closer to the hunters. So the only other thing about the e-collars and the speakers is the wires. Make sure your wires are on the ground, otherwise your dogs are going to be tripping over them, you're going to be tripping over them. Once you put your speakers out, make sure everybody knows there's wires out, you're going to start ripping stuff apart. So bring 2 systems out in the spread every time with you, bring them out every night, charge those batteries, and you'll be good to go. Alright guys, we're wrapping it up. Got our whites on, ready to go. Last thing we do is put the flyers out. Now, we usually run maybe 15 to 20 flyers or 0. Those are what we do. We don't love flyers all the time, but if we're gonna do them, we do them big. You drive around, you see all these spreads and run 2 or 4 flyers. That's a dead giveaway on a decoy spread. So either run a lot of flyers or run 0 flyers. When we're running flyers, we run 10, 15, 20 of them, and we put them in the back of the spread, behind the hunters, to draw the attention of the birds behind the guys trying to shoot them in the head. So that's how we run the flyers. Get our whites on, ready to go here. Let's shoot some snow geese.